Hello and welcome to PMQs with Graham Hughes here on Politics Social. Just time to say big hello to Lost Missionary and to Vendetta and Diz and Gallifrey Men and Andrew. If you'd like to join them in the chat, please just hit the subscribe button and wait for a minute and join in. Please be respectful. That goes for people, newbies and people who are already in the chat who've been here for a while. We want to bring people on board. We want to, be a broad church, but not like that TV show where the kid died. Okay, so we're going to head over to the goings on in the House at the moment. Hilary Benn is currently on his feet talking out of his face. There you go. I know you can't hear him, but you will.
Before I come to President's questions, may I extend a warm welcome to the National Council of Slovak Republic and his delegation who are with us in the gallery today. And may I also welcome the new Chief Minister of St Helena. We now come to questions to Prime Minister Kit Malthouse.
Number one.
Where's St.
Prime Minister.
Why is
Mr.
it
Speaker,
opposition
let me start by
MP asking the first question?
Scotland on their magnificent victory last night.
Yeah, Scotland's through to the World Cup for the first time since 1998.
For the first time since 1998.
I just said that. I think I said 98.
I didn't realise you were all Scottish MPs, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they qualified with fantastic goals, including a cracker from former Arsenal player Kieran Tierney, who was always a great favourite with the fans. Mr. Speaker, my thoughts are with the communities across the country affected by severe flooding, particularly in Monmouthshire. I've been liaising with the First Minister of Wales and want to thank all our emergency services for their response. Mr. Speaker, my thoughts are also with the family and loved one of Royal Fleet Auxiliary member James Elliott, who has sadly been lost. I know the contribution that personnel of the Royal Fleet Auxiliary make and the risks that they take in the line of duty. My thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House, are with those who knew him at this tragic and difficult time for them. Mr. Speaker, last Thursday I visited Anglesey to announce the construction of the country's first small modular reactor. That's the biggest investment in North Wales in a generation, creating more than 6,000 jobs. On Monday, we introduced the largest overhaul of the asylum policy in modern times, restoring control, fairness and creating safe and legal routes. And today I'm pleased to announce that inflation
Tell us more about these legal routes.
There's more to do, but it's an important step. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mr. Speaker, many of us are becoming concerned that technical or procedural manoeuvres outside of this House may be used to prevent Parliament reaching a decision on the terminally ill adults bill. Now, the government is neutral on the bill itself, but I presume it's not neutral on the issue of democracy or the primacy of this chamber. So could the Prime Minister please reassure the House that the decision of elected members, and indeed the wishes and hopes of the vast majority of the people we serve, will not be frustrated in this way?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for his question? I know he feels strongly about this issue. As he says, the government is neutral on the passage of the bill. It is a matter of conscience, so there are different and respected views across Parliament, and it is for Parliament to decide in the end on any changes in this chamber. Scrutiny of the bill in the Lords is a matter for the Lords, but the government does have a responsibility to make sure that any legislation which passes through Parliament is workable, is effective, and of course enforceable.
John Trickett.
Oh, so to hear that, Nick
Very
and
much
Diff, that
indeed,
sucks.
Mr. Speaker. And the party opposite in government said that they would level up the country, but in fact they left the country divided.
Don't point, you lose your argument.
Austerity, in deindustrialisation, stagnant wages, all took the heart, ripped the heart out of mining communities like the ones I represent. Everywhere you can see the legacy which the party opposite left. And how can it be right that the hard-working, loyal people in my constituency earn £400 a week or £20,000 a year less than people who live in Kensington? So will the Prime Minister now declare that it is the government's moral purpose to eliminate economic injustice, starting with the budget next week, announcing massive investment in the north and wherever else poverty and low pay raising its head.
Well, can I thank you for raising
Gotta
this
tickle his tummy while you're at it.
issue, because they laugh, but working people paid a very heavy price for 14 years of economic failure.
Oh, he's had it. 14 years.
Decimated public services. A botched Brexit deal stifled growth, and the reckless borrowing on the mini budget saw mortgages and the cost of living soar. He's right to raise this issue. We're determined to tackle inequality. He'll be pleased to know that under this government, wages are up, but we need to do more. We've had a pay increase for the 3.5 million lowest paid, and the Chancellor will deliver a budget based on Labour values.
Kemi Badenoch, Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, here we go. I welcome the asylum
Thank you, Mr.
seekers,
Speaker.
but
And,
I want to
can
say it doesn't go
associate,
far
Our
enough.
side of the House with the remarks the Prime Minister made about James Elliott. Can the Prime Minister tell us why his government is the first government in history to float increasing income tax rates only to then U-turn on it all after the actual budget?
All after the budget? Before the budget, you mean?
The budget's actually next week, rather than after the budget. So we've got 1 week.
God, she had one question, she fucked it up.
But I can tell her it'll be a Labour budget, Mr. Speaker, with Labour values. That means we will.
How did she
concentrate on
fluff
cutting NHS waiting lists, cutting debt, and cutting the cost of living. And because of the decisions we've already made, inflation is down this morning. The Bank of England have upgraded growth. We've got a record £230 billion of investment into this country under this government.
Mr. Speaker, he says the budget is next week, but we read all about it in the papers. This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now. The Prime Minister needs to end this shambles. So can he confirm today that he won't break another promise by freezing income tax thresholds?
Mr. Speaker, the budget is 1 week today and we will lay out our plans. But what we won't do, Mr. Speaker, I've said what we will do in terms of protecting the NHS and public services. What we won't do is inflict austerity on the country as they did. It's caused huge damage. What we won't do is inflict a borrowing spree like Liz Truss did, also inflicted and did huge damage. Mr. Speaker, have they learnt anything? She's apparently got a golden economic rule, I think. So it's a very important rule, this golden rule. That there's this £47 billion of cuts with no detail. No wonder the Institute of Government says they're on very shaky foundations. They haven't listened and they haven't learned.
Mr. Speaker, it is quite clear that they are going to freeze thresholds. We didn't get a clear answer from them, but this is really important. Because in her budget speech last year, the Chancellor said, and I quote, "I am keeping every single promise on tax that I made in our manifesto. So there will be no extension of the freeze in income tax and national insurance thresholds." Why was freezing thresholds a breach of the manifesto last year, but it isn't this year?
Mr. Speaker, every week she comes along and speculates and distorts. Last year, Mr. Speaker, last year they predicted recession. And what did we get? The fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first half of the year. They opposed NHS investment, and what did we get? 5 million extra appointments in the first year of a Labour government. They tried growing the economy with millions on NHS waiting lists, with our schools crumbling and holes in our...
Grow the economy.
Didn't work. What do they want to do now? Go back to the same failed experiment.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about speculation. The only people who've been speculating are his government every single day for the last 3 months. And he mentioned inflation in his last answer.
Yeah.
Inflation has nearly doubled since they came into office. He wants a round of applause because it's come down a little bit. I will remind him that food inflation is up 4.9%. That is making life miserable for all of those people out there.
All of those people. All of those little people.
Let's go back to thresholds because this is important.
All of those people.
When the Chancellor made that promise to unfreeze the thresholds, it wasn't an off-the-cuff comment. She said it on the floor of this House in her budget speech. That was a deliberate statement of government policy.
That was the last budget.
So if she breaks such a clear promise, how can the public trust a word that she says next week?
That was our last budget.
She talks about inflation. It went to 11% on that.
Yeah.
11%. And the country is still
I feel like I'm the man in the room next door, aren't I? Just whispering. Say it was 11% under them.
We've had 5 interest rate cuts, and that's because our fiscal rules are ironclad. And the leader of the opposition and the party opposition have no credibility on the economy. She was Treasury Minister during the worst decline in living standards on record. And she said that Liz Truss got the mini-budget 100% right. Not much room for flexibility there. 100%, that's pretty full marks, Mr. Speaker. She might want to tell us if that's still her position, 100% right for Liz Truss.
Mr. Speaker, I was Treasury Minister at the height of the pandemic. We cleaned up that mess. Maybe he could clean up some of his own mess.
Cleaned up that mess. You gave millions to your crony mates.
I'm going to repeat what
Billions.
the Chancellor said, because it's quite clear that the whole front bench has forgotten. She said, I have come to the conclusion that extending the threshold freeze would hurt working people. It would take more money out of their pay slips, and yet that's what they're planning to do next week. And all of this speculation is having real-world consequences. Just this morning,
Starmer
the
whisperer.
UK chair of ExxonMobil
Fuck off,
said,
Keir.
and I quote, the government needs to understand that the whole industrial base of the UK is at risk unless they wake up and realise the damage their economic policies are doing. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister tell us, is the loss of UK industry the price the country has to pay for having a clueless Chancellor?
We're going to have an emergency Liz Truss, aren't we?
Let me just say
Yeah,
about
good idea.
ExxonMobil, it is a difficult time for the workforce there, and we must focus on supporting them. We've been meeting the company for over 6 months and explored every possible reasonable avenue. They've been facing losses for the last 5 years. It's best to do the detail before you chunter. And they're currently losing £1 million a week. But she talks about policy and approach. On energy policy, she follows reform. On the European Convention, she follows the man who wants her job. And when her shadow minister said we should deport people lawfully here to achieve cultural coherence, she pretended that it didn't happen. I could go on. She was the trade secretary that didn't sign any trade deals. Cheerleader for the mini-budget, cheerleader for open borders, and when they were crashing the economy, botching Brexit and running down the NHS, she was right at the centre. She hasn't got an ounce of credibility.
Mr. Speaker, on energy policy, what we are doing is listening to industry. What happened, I had a round table.
Ms. Slinger, please. We don't want to have to sling you out.
Go on, take a cup of tea.
Mr. Speaker, just this morning, we heard from the chair of one of our largest energy companies. Last week, I had a round table with energy companies, and what they had to say about this Prime Minister and his energy secretary is unprintable. They are absolutely furious. Our oil and gas industry is dying, and he's standing there saying he had meetings. People out there are struggling, Mr. Speaker. The budget chaos is causing real anxiety. People aren't buying houses, businesses aren't hiring, and they are cancelling investment decisions. 2 weeks ago, the Chancellor called a ridiculous press conference to blame everyone else for her having to raise income tax. Then last week, she U-turned on her own U-turn. Instead, we can see they're planning to freeze income tax thresholds, something she said last year would be a breach of their manifesto. They are making it up as they go along. Doesn't the country deserve better than government by guesswork?
Mr. Speaker, either we renew our country with Labour or we go back to austerity 2.0 with reform of the Tories. They left waiting lists at record highs. Almost 1 million more children in poverty, and they wrecked our public services. She comes here to talk down the country. We're turning the page. More NHS appointments, free breakfast clubs, free childcare, more homes and better public services. That's what we're fighting for, a Britain built for all.
Lord Hatton.
Mr. Speaker, standing in the heart of Weymouth, the Rectory is an iconic building. Formerly a theatre, once a bustling cinema, and then a popular pub as well. And yet, for more than a decade, this building has stood empty. We want to turn this building into a thriving centre for arts and culture, hosting exhibitions and celebrating everything that makes Weymouth unique. So will the Prime Minister work with me and all the key players on the ground to revitalise the rectory and reopen this fantastic building for our town?
Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is a brilliant champion for South Dorset. And he's right to champion revitalising our high streets. The Minister for Heritage would be delighted to discuss how we can get this iconic building reopened as he wants. I'm pleased that Weymouth secured £20 million in Pride in Place funding, giving his community the power and resources to make a real difference to people's lives.
Sir David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's opening remarks? And can I also join with him in congratulating Scotland on their amazing win against Denmark and wish them well in the World Cup? And can I also say I hope Wales soon qualifies to join England and Scotland? But Mr. Speaker, every year there are more than 300 suicides related to problem gambling. It affects hundreds of thousands of families, tearing them apart. Meanwhile, online gambling firms are taking in record revenues of over £7 billion a year.
Yeah, tax them.
Now, ITV News are reporting that one of them, Sky Bet, is moving its headquarters to Malta so it can save tens of millions of pounds in corporation tax. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that it's time that we tax them on their UK profits, so these online gambling firms don't escape wherever they are registered for tax?
Great question. Absolutely.
But can I join him on wishing Wales well and Northern Ireland? I'd like to see all four nations in the finals. But look, he raises the really important issue of suicide, and it's Men's Health Day, and it is really important. And I think the whole House would want to work together on anything that can prevent suicide. I think if all of us
clamp down on the gambling firms,
we may know,
clamp down on them,
lost their lives through suicide.
Tax them till the pipsqueak.
It's something that touches almost every one of us and all of our families as well. We will, of course, look at the link between suicide and gambling and take whatever measures we can to reduce suicide. It's a very important issue.
Sir David.
For his reply, and we look forward to the government coming forward with action on that. On another domestic matter, Mr. Speaker, next to the River Cherwell in Oxfordshire, a field is now covered in an enormous mound of rubbish, 150 metres long and up to 12 metres high. The water is now lapping against the waste and carrying it into the river.
Nice.
It's just one of many sites, Mr. Speaker, where organised criminal gangs are illegally dumping their waste onto our countryside and getting away with it. This is a shocking environmental emergency. So will he instruct the Environment Agency to clean it up now?
Firstly, these are utterly appalling scenes. Utterly appalling. A criminal investigation, as he knows, is underway. And specialist officers are tracking down those responsible. The Environmental Agency, in answer to his question, will use all available powers to make sure that the perpetrators cover the cost of the clean-up, which must now follow. We have boosted the Environment Agency's budget for tackling waste crime by 50%, given councils new powers to seize and crush fly tippers' vehicles, and lawbreakers can now face up to 5 years in jail.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker. Immigration is the #1 issue on doorsteps of Bristol North East. Most people will ask me about it. They want a firm, but also a fair approach, but have been let down over many years. Controlling our borders and knowing who comes is essential, not least to integration. Mr. Speaker, what can the Prime Minister say to my constituents in Bristol North East that will give them assurance that the reforms that the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary are proposing, which I support, will be firm, but will also be fair?
Prime Minister.
I'm proud, Mr. Speaker, to lead an open, tolerant, generous country. To maintain that principle, we must restore order and control, fix the utterly broken system left by the party opposite, and end the division that others seek to exploit. That does include creating safe and legal routes, recognising those who contribute, integrate and strengthen our society, while at the same time reducing illegal arrivals and removing those with no right to be here. That is a fair, progressive system that meets modern challenges.
Through Labour question.
Jim Allister.
By the way, I did make an emergency trust
The governments
button.
of France,
There you go.
Germany
Emergency trust
and the
unlocked.
United
So next
States
time trust is
have
brought
all
up,
extracted
we can
from
do that.
Libya compensation for their citizens who were
God,
affected
this twat.
by Gaddafi-led terrorism across the world. Why, Prime Minister, is the British government continuing to fail United Kingdom citizens who suffered to a huge extent through the importation of arms and, in particular, the tons of Semtex that Gaddafi supplied to the IRA, giving rise to Enniskillen, to Warrington, to the Baltic Exchange and multiple others? Why is no compensation being extracted from Libya for our citizens when it can be done for others? And will the Prime Minister at least meet representatives of the almost forgotten but still campaigning families for those affected by Gaddafi's terrorism?
Well,
Prime Minister.
so many suffer from Gaddafi, and he's absolutely right to raise this really serious issue, and we're working hard on it. I'll absolutely make sure that the meeting he asks for is set up with the relevant minister so that we can give the full position and take on board what they have to say.
Luke Charters.
On International Men's Day and in the spirit of Movember, I want to be open about my own past mental health challenges in the hope that it might encourage other men to do the same. And during the traumatic birth of my first son, I nearly lost my wife, and a dark cloud settled over me. A cloud lifted through conversation and support, and through the safe arrival of my second son, and bright days lie ahead. I'm joined in the gallery today by Mike from York Menfulness, a fantastic charity giving men a place to talk. So will the Prime Minister, as a dad himself, agree with me that strength as a man means being open about our emotions and that we should never face into challenges on our own?
Can I thank him for his honesty? It's never easy to stand up and say what he's just said. And I hope he understands just how important that is for others who will be suffering, who will be inspired to be able to talk openly about their experiences and, importantly, get the help that they need. I'm really proud to publish the first ever men's health strategy today to tackle challenges that disproportionately affect men, including certain cancers and suicide, which is tragically the biggest killer of those men under 50. So we will invest millions in helping more men access mental health support, better care for former minors, and rolling out at-home blood tests to tackle prostate cancer. But I do thank him for speaking out. I think it's so important, it's so brave. It's been done across the House. This isn't a party political issue, but it's always very powerful when it's done, and it's a model for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the government's desire to improve educational outcomes and the well-being of our children, it is ignoring the elephant in the room. This morning I hosted a really powerful round table with 3 secondary head teachers who spoke about the transformational effect that a complete ban on smartphones in their schools had had. Improved behaviour, increased focus, far fewer safeguarding issues, and most importantly, happier children. But for them it has been really hard won, and it's sunk a huge amount of time. So will the Prime Minister tell me and the thousands of head teachers out there who are crying out for this change why his government won't back them with a ban on smartphones in schools?
Prime Minister.
It's kind of unworkable. You've got to leave up to the school.
It's a really important question. I've got teenage children in secondary school, and I know it's an issue of concern to parents and teachers. The reality of the statistics are that the vast majority of schools already ban smartphones.
Reslo, yeah, I was just getting the frog set up.
Sorry, they ban
animation
them
instead.
in school time in lessons. Of course, we will always keep this under review. We've got to take steps that will be effective. I agree with the sentiment of what she's putting to me. We need to deal with it effectively.
Andrew Pegs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the worst legacies of the last Conservative government was the collapse in apprenticeships for young people in places such as Peterborough.
Thanks,
shutting
Resloy.
a generation
Thank you.
out of opportunity. Mr. Speaker, my city is determined to turn that around, with places like Peterborough College, like many of our colleges, leading the charge. Whilst I welcome the government's reform, I still speak to too many young people who can't access the training they need to rebuild Britain. Will the Prime Minister set out what more we can do together to ensure Peterborough's young people get the good jobs and apprenticeships they deserve?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him. His dedicated campaign means Peterborough has one of the first youth guarantee pilots in the country. Mr. Speaker, we inherited an awful situation where almost 1 million young people were not earning or learning. We refuse to accept that. That's why we're delivering the new youth guarantee, investing a record £3 billion into apprenticeships and increasing the national minimum wage for 16 to 20-year-olds. The reform and the Tories say the minimum wage is too high. They're totally wrong. We're going to focus on every young person to give them the chance to succeed.
Thank you, Mr.
God.
Speaker. Whilst the Labour front bench continue to peddle their own form of dog whistle politics, Reform UK...
Fucking rich.
Reform UK are cracking on with the day job. Our reform-led councils are reform...
Can I just say, you might say it's the way he tells them, but it might be worse. It's the way I tell them.
What? That makes no sense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our reform-led councils have already identified savings of over £330 million in the first 6 months. And the Prime Minister may shake his head propped up by these gullible backbenchers, but here's the challenge. Will he guarantee, will he ensure that all the cancelled elections from this year and the proposed local elections for next year will go ahead in May 2026? Go on, be a man.
For one, be a man. Fucking sexism.
It's quite so good at stand-up comedy. Mr. Speaker, he talks about dog whistle. Last week, his leader said he didn't have time to condemn the racist comments of his fellow MP for Runcorn. He also said he didn't have time to condemn his party calling children in care evil. He didn't have time. I wonder if he can ask his leader next door to him whether he's got time for his explanation for the stories in today's papers.
Yeah. Yeah, about you being a massive racist.
Mr. Speaker, over the summer, large quantities of illegal cigarettes were seized in shops in my Carlisle constituency. However, many of those shops were reopened the very next day. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that we have to make it easier for these shops to be closed down permanently?
Yep,
so
there's
we're
Lloyd.
not out of business.
Had the clown emoji ready as well, just in case. All eventualities.
Raising this because there's been a surge in response to illegal shops selling products they shouldn't be selling and not paying their taxes. It's very important. Raids in October, Mr. Speaker, saw over 900 arrests, almost £11 million of criminal profits were seized, and almost £3 million of illegal gear was destroyed. We need to go further to protect our high streets. That's why we're giving councils powers to prevent certain shops from even opening, supporting them to deal with unwanted shops, and through the tobacco and vapes bill, cracking down on rogue retailers who break the law.
Just Barbara.
That's a lot of syllables for that thicko.
Eastbourne
Yeah,
resident
Neanderthal.
Pam was given a cheque for £125,000 by her terminally ill partner, which she went on to cash in. But an error by the bank, Barclays, meant that only £125 was deposited. Barclays admitted the error and then said that they will compensate her for £250 for the inconvenience caused.
What?
Will the Prime Minister work with me to ensure that Barclays Bank pays Pam the compensation that she needs and deserves? And while we're here, will he commit to imposing a windfall tax on the banks like Barclays on their excess profits to bring bills down for residents struggling?
Prime Minister.
The case of his constituent Pam is staggeringly bad, absolutely terrible. If he could provide me with the full details of it, I will make sure that the government joins him in doing whatever we can in relation to his constituent. And before I sit down, may I take a moment to send my warmest congratulations to the honourable member on getting engaged, I think, on Thursday. The proposal, I think, was right here in Parliament. You never know what you might find in this dispatch box. But on behalf of my party, and actually I'm sure the whole House, can I wish him and Connor a lifetime of happiness.
Connor Naismith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Crewe Railway Station is the gateway
back to the gobshites.
the shop window
Stop being
for
nice.
my constituency, with an average annual footfall of 4.5 million.
The disappointment is bearable.
I am working with Cheshire East Council on ambitious plans for Crewe 360 to deliver much-needed investment into the station and into the land around the station. And we want to adopt the Railway Industry Association's Station Investment Zone proposals, which could deliver much-needed improvements in transport, housing, regeneration and economic growth. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Crewe would make a perfect pilot for these proposals? And will he agree to work with me to bring government departments around the table so that we can make these plans a reality?
Minister. Well, I thank him for his question. Because of our actions, Mr. Speaker, house building near stations like Crewe will now be a default yes. That means tens of thousands of homes delivered far sooner for families with great transport links as standard. I'll make sure that he meets the relevant ministers to drive forward growth. Every step we've taken to deliver more homes has been opposed by the parties opposite. They're the blockers, Labour are the builders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is an open secret that the gig economy is a magnet for organised crime and illegal workers. As Christmas approaches and demand increases, so do the associated risks. Will the Prime Minister please explain why enforcement in this area is so low and what he will do to restore order?
Solo. And solo.
Well, we're delivering a record crackdown on illegal working in the gig economy, expanding the right to work and facial recognition checks, which are really important. We're also introducing a new criminal offence of trespassing with intent to commit a crime through the Place and Criming Bill.
Mr. Coteau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Based on the reactions, or remember that every day I see the cost to my constituents in Bournemouth West of years of cuts to public services. Youth services gone, neighbourhood policing decimated, no NHS dentist appointments. So can the Prime Minister confirm there will be no return to austerity under this Labour government?
He said that at the beginning.
I certainly can.
He said that at the beginning.
The austerity that they imposed on the country destroyed our public services, and we're still paying the price. We'll be cutting waiting lists, cutting the debt and cutting the cost of living. Fair choices to secure Britain's future, not a return to the failure of the party opposite.
Jack Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has expressed sincere regret for appointing David Colgan to the independent football regulator. Will he now put on record the full amount Mr. Colgan has donated to his leadership campaign and his party, any hospitality he's received, and whether he declared these interests before appointing him?
Prime Minister.
They were all declared properly.
Well, that was a rubbish question, wasn't
it?
Mr. Speaker, this Friday we commemorate the 51st anniversary of the Birmingham pub bombings, in which 21 people lost their lives in what is still the largest unsolved murder in our history. The families do not believe that the approach set out by the government will discover the truth and that only a public inquiry will do. Can we now have the meetings in order to hear the families' concerns direct and agree an approach that will command not just confidence, but will find the truth of who bombed Birmingham?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I extend my deepest sympathies that remain with the bereaved and survivors of the horrific pub bombing in Birmingham in 1974. We do believe the most appropriate route is through the Independent Commission for Reconciliation and Information Recovery, but Honourable Friend has raised this issue directly with me, and of course I'll make sure that the relevant meeting is set up so that he and the families can put their point of view for us to consider.
Mr.
Speaker, you and the Chamber will be well aware that I represent the biggest and most remote constituency in the UK. And I'm bound to say, Mr. Speaker, that in it, bank branches are becoming rarer than sightings of the Loch Ness Monster.
The Lib Dems have got out for the banks this morning, haven't they?
At all in the huge county of Sullivan.
This afternoon.
Now, we have legislation that provides for access to cash, but what we don't have is legislation that provides for face-to-face banking services. So I'd be deeply grateful if the Prime Minister would ask the Treasury to meet with me to discuss how we might update the Financial Services and Markets Act to include some form of access to cash provision that would preserve face-to-face banking for my constituents and other remote areas.
Mr. Speaker, I know how important face-to-face banking is to local communities. As he knows, we're rolling out banking hubs. Decisions over location are taken independently, but they should be rolled out wherever there is a need for one. And of course, there's more to come. I will, in answer to his question, make sure that he gets the meeting that he requests so that we can have a look at the proposal.
Abdul Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Prime Minister is aware, November marks Islamophobia Awareness Month. This Labour government has shown a steadfast commitment to supporting Muslim communities, particularly through consulting on the definition of Islamophobia. Given anti-Muslim hate is at a record levels in the UK, can the Prime Minister outline the steps this government will take to tackle a rising level of racism, xenophobia against the Muslims in Britain?
Minister.
Can I thank him for raising this important issue? He's always been a strong champion on this. Anti-Muslim hatred is abhorrent, Mr. Speaker, and has no place in our society. And the increase in incidents must be addressed. It's why we're increasing funding to protect mosques and Muslim faith schools across the country. It's why we've announced a new fund to monitor anti-Muslim hatred and support victims. And we continue to work on the definition of anti-Muslim hatred.
I would.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everyone who cares about media independence and freedom will be relieved that, that Redbird have recognised that they cannot run the Telegraph. But there are serious concerns that they will burden the paper with unsustainable debt if the title is sold for less than £500 million. So will the Prime Minister step in to prevent this from happening and enable a sale at a lower price
get rid of the
necessary,
Telegraph. Sack it off.
Without this toxic debt burden?
Why would the Prime Minister do anything for a newspaper that does nothing but slag him off?
He raises a serious issue. I'm not quite sure what he's asking the government to do. To step in and nationalise it, I don't think would be the right thing.
Oh, God, yeah, nationalise the Telegraph. It'd be fucking hilarious.
On the 5th of March at the dispatch box, the Prime Minister said these words: "We do recognise Cornish national minority status, not just the proud language, the history and the culture of Cornwall, but its bright future. Since then, I've repeatedly asked ministers for Cornwall's unique place on this island to be recognised through devolution. When the devolution bill comes back to the House next week, will the Prime Minister help me explicitly enshrine Cornish devolution and Cornish national minority status in that bill?"
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for his question? Of course, he has raised this issue with me on a number of occasions already. He's a great champion for Cornwall. We will ensure that Cornwall's national minority status is safeguarded in any future devolution arrangements. We have provided £500,000 to support distinctive Cornish culture, including the Cornish language.
Sir David.
The Prime Minister knows that last week 9 four-star generals made plain that yesterday's Northern Ireland bill is doing harm to the British Army already. Most acute damage is being felt by the Special Air Service. It's already affecting their recruitment, their retention, their morale and their operational effectiveness. As a result, lawyers acting for the SAS Regimental Association have sent a letter before action to the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. I know of no precedent for this in the entire history of the British Army, and it's because it's so important. It reflects how important it is. So can I make a plea to the Prime Minister? Will he involve himself personally to make sure that 60, 70, 80-year-old soldiers who have carried out actions which most of us would view as heroic are not persecuted in the coming years? Because now it's a matter not of national security, but of national honour.
Can I thank him for his question and reassure him on the protections that he seeks for veterans, because it is a very important issue and he's continually and rightly raised it. There will be protection from repeat investigations, so the Commission doesn't go over old ground without compelling reasons. There will be protection from cold calling and protection in old age, so that elderly veterans are respected. And those who do contribute to the legacy process will have a right to anonymity, a right to stay at home to give evidence remotely, and a right to be heard through the Commission. That is the work that we're doing, and I'm happy to discuss it further with him.
To end on the subject, no doubt we can expect is Scotland's victory total correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the Prime Minister next meets with the President of the United States, can he ask him if he knows any reasonably priced hotels near the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, where the World Cup final is to be held? And as we are about to provide the biggest boost to whisky exports since our trade deal was signed, can he ask the Chancellor to gently consider excise duties next week so we Scots can continue celebrating at reasonable prices?
Prime Minister. I thank him for his question. On the question of whisky, it is important that we do everything we can to support whisky. I'm really
20% of our food and
with
drink.
the progress we're making with the United States.
Exports.
And of course with India.
20% is whisky.
Trade deal. I'll continue to discuss what more we can do with him.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
That's it. Fuck off. All right. I'm so sorry. That was a really boring one, wasn't it? Can we just talk? We're going to talk briefly. I'm not going to keep you for ages, but I just want to talk briefly about just how utterly rubbish Kemi Badenoch was again. Like, she was absolutely dreadful. She had 6 questions. She asked them all about the budget, which isn't happening until next week. I mean, if she wanted to really stick the knife into Labour, obviously this package of I don't know, creation of the hostile environment that we enjoyed under Theresa May when she was Home Secretary. The hostile environment that was demonstrably unsuccessful. Remember the go home vans? Yeah. So she could have had a go about that, but she didn't. And that worries me on a few levels, right? First of all, it doesn't worry me because I know she's rubbish. But, like, I mean, it shows that what Mahmood did earlier this week on Monday with her announcements for cracking down on asylum seeking in this country, it did manage to shut up the Tories because there wasn't a single question about it from Kemi Badenoch. And there's a thing here, and this is a horrible thing to consider, right? When this goes through Parliament, Labour might find themselves a few votes short, although they have an overwhelming majority of over 150 seats. I could see at least 100 backbench Labour MPs voting against it, which would mean that it wouldn't get through. It's one thing having a massive majority, but you only need half of that massive majority to rebel and vote the other way, and you don't get your vote through. So Labour will be relying, I think, on Tory votes in order to get this new refugee bill through Parliament. I'll say that again. Labour are going to be relying on Tory votes. And I think that the Tories will give them those votes without too much of a fight. Why? Virgin Cola. That's why. What the fuck has this got to do with Virgin Cola, I hear you ask? Graham, are you going off on one of your mad ADHD tangents again? Stick with me on this, right? Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola have had a bit of a love-hate relationship for many, many years. In the 1980s, after Pepsi decided to start a new campaign, the Taste of a New Generation, the Pepsi Challenge. You drink two brands of cola, and you had to guess which one was Pepsi, right? Because they knew in blind taste tests, people preferred the taste of Pepsi to that of Coca-Cola. At this time, Coca-Cola was outselling Pepsi 2-1. So in response, Coca-Cola changed their recipe. And everyone freaked out and said, what are you doing changing the recipe for Coca-Cola? Bring back the Coca-Cola that we know and love, which they did, and called it Coke Classic. So for a very long time in the United States, when you got a can of Coke, you could get new Coke. Couldn't get that for that long. But then you get Coke Classic. Not that there was any option, apart from Coke Classic, but... Anyway, by the early 90s, they'd met some kind of equilibrium again. Even though Pepsi's Taste of Difference challenge had done very well, they kept backing the wrong horse. They did a deal with like Madonna to do a video with them or an advert or something. It was just when Like a Prayer came out and there was a big kerfuffle about a black Jesus being in the music video, a black Jesus who kisses Madonna. And then they had that. There's a series of celebrities from the 80s and 90s that Pepsi signed a deal with, so they could be the face of Pepsi, and then something ridiculous happened, and they turned into Public Enemy #1. So by the mid-90s, Coca-Cola and Pepsi still sort of, at war with each other, still trying to take throat share from each other, still sitting there in the marketing board, big long tables, and going, how can we build? And in Coca-Cola, they refer to Pepsi. They never say the word Pepsi. It's like Voldemort. You don't say the word. They call them our blue friends. Our blue friends. Anyway, along comes this little upstart called Virgin Cola. Right? And it was decent cola. It was okay. It was going to be the third option. So when you went into every single shop in the country, you would have, in every single corner shop, you would have Coca-Cola, you would have Pepsi, you would have Iron Brew, of course, and Vimto, and you'd have Virgin Cola. So you had a choice again, for years it had just been Pepsi or Cola. It had been the red team or the blue team, and you could only pick those two teams. And Virgin started taking market share from Coca-Cola and from Pepsi. Not that much, but enough for them to go, hey up, we're losing some market share here. So what did the blue team and the red team, the Tories and Labour, Coca-Cola and Pepsi do? They teamed up, they reduced the price of their cola to 15p a can, printed it on the can so you couldn't sell it for more than 15p, and basically destroyed Virgin Cola, which just limped on in the few Virgin cinemas around the country in the late 90s. But apart from that, no, it was torpedoed by Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola teaming up in the UK to get rid of this upstart party called Refuck. I mean Virgin Cola. So that's why I wanted to tell you that story, because I think that's what's going to happen. Because don't forget, we keep talking about how many votes or how many MPs Labour are going to lose to Refuck. What about the Tories? They're nowhere. They're nowhere to be seen while Refuck are there. So if Labour and the Tories can steal a march on the Refuckers and say, well, we stopped the, there's no boat, so what's he talking about now? So, an unholy alliance. An unholy alliance, which I think may or may not, I don't know, allegedly, I'm just making this up. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Lord Glassman and Morgan McSweeney were behind this. Having quiet words with Kemi Badenoch and her team behind closed doors, or maybe in one of the many bars that we subsidise in the House of Commons. True story. Anyway, so that's why I think it's happening, and that's why I think that Kemi Badenoch didn't ask any questions about immigration today. She asked stupid questions about the economy, which Starmer could stand up and say, well, inflation's down. Under you lot, it was 11%, which I said, and then he said. So that was the obvious thing to say back to that. Like, if I can think of it, right, surely when they workshop these things, surely they think, okay, we'll ask this question, what do you think the reply is going to be? Okay, he'll mention 11% if you say that. Is there any way we can put it in another way that stops him from saying 11%? No? Okay, well, maybe don't mention it. Maybe don't make that the object of attack. Maybe make the many things that people already criticise Labour for as your motive for attacking them. Anyway, so yeah, Kemi Badenoch is awful at this. She's so bad. She makes Starmer look good at it, which is remarkable because he's just so monotone and yeah, not my favourite politician at the moment, I have to say. Yes, Canada is great, lovely people, couldn't agree more. I get the impression that a private school education is about paying for it. You automatically pass if Pater paid for it, says Andy. Yeah, that's the way it works. There's a lot of dickheads who are out there in public life with far too much power. The number one example I always give of this is Matt Hancock. The dickhead whose confidence in his own fucking abilities when he had no abilities to be confident about led to the deaths of tens of thousands of elderly people in this country. I get shit when I start talking about the boomer generation and the problems that they have caused as a group. And not all of them have caused it. You know, some people, some boomers are all right. Does he get shit all the time for the boomers that he killed? Hardly ever hear about him these days, do you? He won an I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. He did SAS training and don't know what he's doing now. But when he should have been looking after us, he was shagging his some woman in his office behind his wife's back. He was having a great time. Boris Johnson, also privately educated, beyond, giving him confidence beyond his abilities. Also, just, partying all the way through COVID. Hardly gets mentioned now. Has he still got a column in the Daily Mail? Do people still listen to him? But there you go. Graham Price says, it's a private school for you. It gives the weakest, most pathetic pond life people delusions of grandeur. Yeah. And like I say, not all people who went to private school turn out to be wrong uns. But a lot do. And it's the thing is they're already wrong uns, and they will get filtered out by a state school system which empowered people on a meritocratic basis. But we don't. We have a system that empowers people based on the bank balances of their parents. And that's got to stop. That has absolutely got to stop. Exactly like Trumpolini, years telling people telling him he was great when he has the brains of a slug. Yeah, Andy, couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. If you thought the Tories were the worst possible, says Andy, looks like the scriptwriters decided to jump the shark. Yeah. And at least the Tories haven't got EU passports so they can flee. A lot of them do, mate. A lot of them do. And even if they don't have an EU passport, they got the money to pay for residentia. They got the money to pay for the DBS check that needs a certificate of authentication, of which that certificate needs another certificate of authentication in order for you to get residency. Not citizenship, just to be able to stay there for more than 6 months. 3 months in the EU. I'd be amazed if his kids still speak to him. I remember Hancock on the news rushing to tell his wife and kids to say he was leaving them with the cameras outside. Deeply horrible man. Yeah. Deeply, who killed people. Who fucking killed people. He should go to jail. He should go to jail for saying, I can do that job, and then doing it so badly that tens of thousands of people died. He was our health secretary during a pandemic. He was our health secretary telling us that they were putting a ring of protection around nursing homes. They were not. Nursing homes that the Tories have sorted out, so a cost of £2,000 a week for being there. So hopefully once you're in there, you don't last too long, because that's a ridiculous sum of money to spend. But if you are in that hospital, so you are in that care facility for 5 years, and your house was worth £500,000 when you went in, do you know how much your house is going to be worth when you're dead? Nothing. And people talk about inheritance tax. Let's talk about how much we had to pay for fucking care homes because they all got privatised under the Tories. Maybe we shouldn't privatise them. Maybe they should be nationalised. Maybe they should be community hubs with young people encouraged to go and help out there, a few hours a week, help out, help our older people, help the older generation. Why not? But we don't. It's all private enterprise. There needs to be a shareholder who's making money. There needs to be tax to dodge. There needs to be someone buying a bigger yacht next year, or buying a longer cigar, or buying a longer line of cocaine, or whatever rich people do. I don't know. They spend the money on something, but when the sister of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, a guy who went to Eton, when the sister of this guy is saying, I don't feel rich. Okay, cool. Listen, rich people, come here. It's all right. Give us all your money. Give us all your fucking money. Because obviously it's not making you happy. You don't feel rich despite all this money. You gave me that money. I will feel rich. You give me $1 million. I would feel $1 million because I know what it's like to not have that money. They don't. They think it's normal. And they can't comprehend how other people live because they've never experienced it. They've never seen it even. The group of people they hang about with are all posh toffs who, just do their own thing. Don't associate with the rest of us. But apparently we're the ones in the bubble, right? We're the ones who've got friends who might be from all walks of life, who might be working class, might be from different racial backgrounds, might be different religious backgrounds, might be upper class, middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, friends all over the place, right? Friend in every port. But we're the ones who are in a bubble, as opposed to these motherfuckers smoking their cigars in their gentlemen's clubs in fucking Mayfair, who all sit there with the big broadsheet newspapers go, foreigners. Yeah. Who should we pick on today? And they spin the wheel. The fickle finger of fate spins around. Oh, it's trans people today. Oh, it's single mums. Oh, look, it's foreigners. Oh, look, it's socialism. Okay, whatever. I'm going to run out of gas today, and I have now to stick in the meter. Not one person in that house knows what that feels like, says Graham. Yeah. Mate, I'm sorry. That really fucking sucks. And yeah, none of them know. None of them know. I mean, maybe, actually, maybe someone like Angela Rayner could really empathise with that. So I wouldn't say there was absolutely nobody there, but very few. Yeah, very few. No one on the Tory benches. The Wheel of Misfortune. It's very good. I like that, Mike. Top chat nanny didn't like John Major's bitter attack on Brexit. Well, he was right. I hate saying that an old Tory's right, but John Major and Michael Heseltine, when they talk about Europe, I'm like, yeah, they're right. My ex and her sister managed to shield the family home when their mum went into care somehow. She didn't have to pay any money for her own care. That's lucky. It is difficult. It is really, really difficult. Okay, so I'm going to head off now. Graham, I hope you sort out the situation with the gas today. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for watching. I should be back at 6 o'clock tonight for the rabbit hole. So please join me for that. And until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.